So, after my short break from addressing the issues I see with first world feminism, I have decided to return and commentate on one rather peculiar aspect of feminist doctrine that has gained popularity with recent years, the so-called rape culture. And I do say quote unquote rape culture because I don't think it actually exists. At least not in North America. Now, in other parts of the world, maybe. I don't know. To be honest, I haven't done enough research in other parts of the world to adequately judge if the law is biased against women in this regard. I have not immersed myself in the culture of other countries to say that there might be a culture where rape is commercially acceptable. I don't know for sure, but what I do know is that in North America, any feminist that tries to make the claim that there is a culture centered around raping and sexually harassing girls and young women is just talking out of their ass. I feel that modern-day feminism has spun out the rape culture myth to such a great extent that everyone is starting to believe it. Like, oh, it's not up for you to tell me how to dress. Teach your boys not to rape. Or things like, oh, we think it's culturally acceptable to rape girls. Look at all these stats that I have pulled up on how many girls have been sexually harassed and touched, etc. Now, you're right. It's none of my business to tell you what to wear as long as it's not a matter of public decency. Guys should not be touching women against their will and definitely not raping them. That's horrible. That's wrong. And no woman deserves to get raped. No person in general deserves to get raped. Here are some facts about rapists that some of you might not know. Actually, a very small portion of rapists are really in it for sexual gratification. Most of them are in it for either power and control, or they get sexual release off sadistic tendencies. Like, they torture their rape victims that way, and that is their sexual release. But all three of these people either cannot really understand that rape is wrong, or they don't care to, because they have more to gain by going out and taking someone against their will and physically violating them. Now, I understand that the goal of feminists when they try and do these things is to draw attention to these very specific set of guys. And I do say guys because they do tend to be the majority of rapists out there. It's just a fact. But I know they're trying to draw attention to them. It's just that with this demographic of people, this very small minority of guys, they either cannot comprehend or don't care to comprehend that rape is wrong. And you know what? No amount of feminism is ever going to change these people's minds. The only way we can really at least try and solve this problem is by taking proactive action and not making yourself look like a victim. I can already sense that feminists are going to say, oh, Truth, are you blaming girls, saying that they deserve to get raped if they're dressing slutty? No, again, I'm saying no one deserves to get raped. But it's just naive to think that guys wouldn't rape in the same way to think that people don't do bad things. They do. This is reality. No amount of feminism is going to change the reality that there are horrible people in this world, guys and girls, and they will do things that harm you or hurt you in some way. So guess what? It's only smart to dress in a conservative manner, and if you don't choose to dress in a conservative manner, then take precautions. Hold on to your drink. Don't take a drink from someone else in case they slip something into it. Always hang out with a group of friends, and if you decide to go off by yourself, then tell your friends to expect a phone call if you reach wherever you're going to go safely. Like, these are just basic things that you tell girls so that they don't hurt themselves or that they don't get hurt by other people. It's nothing personal. It's not that I'm trying to blame the victim. It's just common fucking sense. And you know what? The sad thing is These are sorts of things that mothers tell their daughters all the time not to do. Make sure you call me when you get to the club, honey. Don't go off with any shady guys. Don't dress so slutty so that people wouldn't do nasty, horrible things to you. And no one accuses these people of being sexist because they're women telling other women to do the exact same thing. So why is it when guys tell women that, maybe it's a smart idea not to dress in a slutty manner and go off into a dark alley in the middle of the night, why is it that it's considered sexist and victim-blaming? But when mothers tell their daughter the exact same thing, it's just considered everyday conversation. I bet that if I decided to go into the Jane and Finch area and start shouting out racial slurs and I got shot, that no one would say, oh, well, we should just teach people not to shoot other people. No one would say that. And yet, we make this special exception for women. Why? And of course, let's not forget that the media itself is pretty damn biased, considering how if a female teacher has sexual relations with a male student, oh, well, she was lonely, she was recently divorced, and she's still awaiting trial. She's probably going to get off with probation, things like that. But then when a guy has relations with an underage female student, oh, well, he's a pedophile. He's a convicted rapist. He is a horrible, deplorable human being for preying on young girls, and he should deserve the worst punishment ever. There is clearly a double standard here, and it is not against women and young girls. Now, I'm not saying that girls don't get raped. I'm not saying girls shouldn't report it if they get raped. And I definitely will say that whoever does commit rape, whether they are men or women, regardless of the sex of the victim, I think that they should deserve very harsh punishment because of the severity of their crime. But what I will not say is that there is a specific cultural agenda that wants to violate young girls and propagate the idea that this sort of behavior is acceptable. It's not. Most sane, normal human beings will say that this behavior is not acceptable. And if you don't believe me, you can go out into the streets, conduct your own little experiment, and why don't you go out in the streets and ask several random people whether they think sexually harassing or having sexual contact with someone without their consent is okay. And tell me exactly how many people will say yes. I think that sort of survey will not yield very positive results for the case of rape culture. But hey, don't take my word for it. Go out and do it for yourself. And then you can tell me if there really does exist a rape culture. May the truth always be heard.